Hello everybody. Should be live now, I think. Yeah, it looks like everything's working all right. Please do let me know in the comments. Pop a little comment on YouTube or in the live chat on YouTube, or a Facebook comment if you're watching on Facebook, just to let me know if you can see me and if you can hear me okay. Hopefully you can. Kind of looks like everything's working all right from my end. But I'm never really sure. So today, I'm painting these roses here. These are Wallerton Old Hall. They're a David Austin rose. This is the second painting. The second painting I'm doing of these roses. And actually, yesterday was so hot. It never really gets that hot in the UK. It's not supposed to, but yesterday it was over 30 degrees centigrade. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's hot. It never gets that hot here. And the sun started to fry my roses, so I cut these two and I brought them in, and it looked like they weren't going to make it, and I put them in water yesterday, and they seemed to hello Maria. They seemed to come around a little bit, so I started painting them today. Work in progress. Let's get straight over. Hello Maya, nice to see you. Hello Alison. I'm just going to change the size of this a little bit. It's gone a bit out of hand. Calm artist, that's nice. Thank you. Don't always feel very calm. Today I'm reasonably calm because the weather broke last night. We had thunderstorms and rain lashed down all night. And the air is kind of cleared a little bit now. Let me switch you over so you can see what I've been up to so far today. So here's the painting. Here's the palette. And let me give you the reference photo too, so you can see. Now, just to be clear, as you would have seen, I've actually got the actual roses in front of me here, so I'm painting from life. Although actually, as my process changes and as I've started streaming live a lot when I paint, I have an extra kind of a visual check, because I can see the screen as well now. So I guess it would probably be fair to say that I work from a combination of the photo and life now. And in some ways, having the photo there helps me simplify a little bit. But I've still got the actual thing in front of me so that I can, so I don't kind of lose touch, with what's there, and the color aberrations of the camera don't affect me too much. So, hello Linda, nice to see you. Hello Elaine. Hi Barbara. Yeah, aren't those yellows lovely? Hello Carly, nice to see you. Yeah, I love my studio. We moved here about 3 years ago from Epsom, and I live in the middle of the countryside, surrounded by fields. It's very beautiful. Hello Alison, nice to see you. Hi Danya. Hope I haven't missed anybody. The glow, Ginny, it's all about the glow. It's all about the chroma. So this area here is all the same value pretty much. If you desaturated this, it would all look pretty much the same value. But you can see here on the palette, I've got very low chroma and a higher chroma at the same value, and they're the same hue. And this is what Munsell lets me do. These are the two colors there that I have mixed that you can see. And here they are on the painting. So these are both, in Munsell terms, these are both 5, are they 5Y? 2.5Y. No. 7.5 surely, let me check. No, they are 2.5Y. So they're slightly warmer, you could say slightly more towards orange than middle yellow. But not really very orange, they're still slightly greenish. And you can see basically pretty much how they've gone on. You know, down here I've kept the chroma very low at this part here. Yeah, people get a bit funny about using photos and stuff like that. Now, you probably heard me say this before, but I've spent about 15 years working purely from life without any photos at all. And it's only recently, since I've been streaming and stuff, that I've begun to see some of the benefits, because I'm often online with a camera on the work now, and I see things that I would miss if I was just working from life. You know, it gives me another perspective. I really like having both now. I've got used to it, I suppose, and I like having that there. Oh, you want to see the painting that was finished on Tuesday? Let me grab that and show you it quickly before we go any further. So these are the same kind of roses. Can I get it to fit? Maybe. Perhaps not quite. Can't quite get it to fit. The same roses, same kind of roses in the same vase. But obviously this one I'm just painting the roses and the leaves. I've left the vase out, and the background I've painted entirely with a palette knife with this. So I put a wash on first, a kind of a scrub in first of this dark brown behind it, and then scrape this over the top with the palette knife. And I'll probably end up doing a little bit more palette knife stuff, mostly in the background, just to add a bit of texture. But let me show you something else. A little while ago I did a bunch of purely palette knife value studies, and I really kind of I enjoyed doing these, and there's something about the texture that comes out of them that I really like. But I don't want it on the roses. I don't think it would really be right for roses, for the flowers themselves. Sorry about that, kids going crazy outside making lots of noise. So that was all painted first, and then I did the leaves. And like these parts, the highlights don't have any paint on them yet. That one does a little bit, this one doesn't have any paint on it yet. Thank you, Maya. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not really, it hasn't been particularly difficult to do this with a palette knife, because all I wanted was texture. I just wanted texture on there. But I'm far through enough now that I think the values are probably going to work out okay. I'm trying to resolve this area at the moment because I had some bad drawing, so I'm still kind of sorting that out. And what the colours that I've mixed here, basically these, for the roses, you can see that one is there, this one is here, and then these two are there, are exactly the same ones that I mixed for the same type of roses that I painted the other day. I tend to put, I'm starting to push the chroma a little bit in the dark shadows. I just like the effect, you know. They're not actually quite that. The colour isn't quite that intense there, but it's certainly, to me anyway, it gives the painting something. So I'm trying to just resolve this area with this leaf here and where it meets this flower, so I can work on this flower a little bit more. It's the main, really the main part of the painting, I suppose you could say. It's got some drawing problems here I need to sort out. Slight drawing problems. I mean, this should be coming much further out. So I started, the panel is an oil primed linen panel, which I got from Jackson's in the UK, and then it's moving quite a bit as I, not quite in the same spot as it was when I laid it out. And I've I get them and then I put another layer of oil primer on them. Try and sort these leaves out. This one in particular needs repainting now. I'm just trying to be very careful with the drawing and the colour, but I've got all of this interesting texture stuff in the background, which I'm really hoping that I won't have to do any more in the background now. Because if I do, or at least not very much more, if I do, I'll lose that texture. Just trying to sort out the shape of the leaves here. Some things are going to differ slightly probably from the photo, either because it's changing a little as I'm painting it, or because I want to have a slightly different, something in a different place for the composition, or because I've just made a mistake. Overall, the values have come together quite quickly. That's the main bit I would say probably that I'm quite happy with at the moment. The values have worked out nicely from the start, which doesn't always happen. That highlight there, the edge of that leaf, I just want to put that in, so it's really just a bit lighter than the background, just enough to see it, but I'm not quite getting it. Yeah, probably no lighter than that, I don't think. Don't overdo it. And that is definitely overdone. It's so easy, I find, with the leaves. It's just the usual value problem of focusing in on an area and then trying to replicate the value changes that you see, seeing them bigger than they are, and also not allowing for the fact that being as the value range that I have on my panel is more narrow than the value range in the subject, that all of my values have to be closer together anyway, and forgetting that, losing that perspective. So the highlights on those leaves will inevitably be closer to the lower values than you might assume. Something a about the shape of this leaf here is bothering me. It's not looking very leafy. It's got a little bit close to the edge there as well. For framing, I usually try and leave a bit more room because, you know, when the rebate of the frame comes in there, it'll be right up against that leaf. But I like where it is, and I'm reluctant to change it now. Good morning, Georgia. Nice to see you. Bit more shadow in here. This is a flat synthetic, which I love using these for leaves. They almost seem to paint the leaves for you. You can get the values right and the colours right. They have a real the shape that they make is very leaf-like. Ready. Should definitely be better there. So I've got to decide. I think they're going to end up floating because I mean, I certainly could paint more. There's the stems actually come down here as I'm looking at. Let's try a little bit and see how it would work in the composition. I'm tempted to leave them just like this, sort of disembodied. Disembodied roses, but I'm not quite sure if it would not disturb them. Some people, I don't know. Might just hope to anchor them a little bit if there's at least a suggestion. But I'm not painting the vase, so that kind of complicates matters a little bit. Yeah, actually, yes, with a little bit of stem. I kind of like them just flying and floating there, but I think on balance they're going to be better from just having something to anchor them a little more. And I think partly I've been drawn to more textural backgrounds by, I mean, artists work who I really like, who work with more textural backgrounds. Historically speaking, Hovshet Pushman and Emil Carlson. They're both American artists, but immigrants from other countries, and they both use quite a lot of texture in their backgrounds to great effect. In terms of contemporary painters, I've been looking a lot at Scott Connery's work lately, and inevitably, I love his work, you know, and inevitably you look at a lot at somebody's work, it starts to come out, something starts to come out in your own. And personally, I think that's a natural process, and I don't worry about it too much. You know, it's going to happen anyway. So it feels like it would almost be a mistake to deliberately try to fight it. And there's a kind of, in his work, there's a kind of a Scott Connery, I should spell it in case you don't know his work, S-C-O-T-T-C-O-N-A-R-Y, Scott Connery. And there's a tension between these very textural backgrounds, like way more than mine is here, and some very carefully, finely drawn and painted areas, which I really love in his work. So what do I need to do here? What is about right? This would come down here. So I'm back thinking about this rose again now, trying to sort out where things are going to go. See, now this comes almost down. To the other rose, they almost meet. You could do so much just by carefully drawing the edge of something. If the values are good and then the edges are carefully drawn. I don't mean edge handling, I mean shape. You can go a long way just with that. I tend to find lately that I'm trying to paint the edges of the roses, the edges of the shapes a bit more accurately. There's quite a lot going on in this area that I'm not painting at the moment, but I just want to put a couple of notes where there's highlights, as much as anything else, to remind me that they're there, to help that shape come. So for the low chroma areas of the rose, I'm mixing my low chroma version of this colour here with the highlight colour, and going between them allows me to have like a low chroma light to shadow and a higher chroma light to shadow, and I'm finding lately, like the trick to painting anything a lot of the time is just simplifying, figuring out a good way to simplify the shapes, and I'm finding a lot with roses lately that if I can get together a high chroma and a low chroma version, like a string from light to shadow of the main color, local colour of the rose that I can get, you know, I can get a lot closer kind of more quickly without having to hunt around. The colour isn't quite as complicated as I thought perhaps, but it is still very subtle. And once you've found the right colours, the real challenge is the subtlety. So this area around here is all, this bit is generally lower value and in shadow. Shadow brush. Picked up a bit of the high chroma there, which I don't want in that place. It's not right there. This here. It'll be difficult to take it out now because that's very high chroma paint. Staining. Everybody still with me? Is it still, everything's still working okay? Facebook just told me that there might be a problem playing the video. Let me know if you're still here and you can still see me. It all looks alright from my end, but you never know. Thank you, Alison. I always worry about Facebook. YouTube seems to be a lot more stable, generally speaking, than Facebook. So I'm just looking for really just values here. There is some chroma there actually, that's kind of handy. I'm not trying to paint petals, I'm just trying to paint really shapes at the moment. Shapes and values and chroma. This is all gradually comes out. So I'm squinting while I'm painting, I've squinted right down. It helps to, and not to paint, not to think flower, but to think light and shadow and value and shape. And there's a lot of chroma all around this area here. It fascinates me that the more I paint these things, it fascinates me more and more how the thing isn't painting the petals. It's getting the subtlety of the values and the chroma changes and getting them in the right place. And if you can do that with like a coherent value relationship in the painting, then they start to look like flowers even before you've got very far. I've made a bit of a mistake on the palette here because I've allowed this to get too high chroma, and this is supposed to be my low chroma mix. So I'm going to take that out. Thank you, great. Oh, hello, Diane. Didn't see you join, sorry. So this here, just, you know, if you just look at the palette, this here is my low chroma side from light to shadow. And if you want a low chroma version of a color, took me a long time to learn this, but the best way to drop chroma, for God's sake, don't try and do it with the complement, because the hue will go everywhere, the value will be thrown out. It's with a lower chroma version, so a lower chroma version of the same hue and the same value is the most reliable way to do it. If you want control, and you know, if you want to paint flowers, for me anyway, it's all about keeping control of the chroma and the values. It's forcing me to work you see, wrong note, because I was thinking about what I was saying and not thinking about what I was doing. I've found more and more that it's the key to me being able to paint them a little better. Oh, I'm gonna get that note there as more chroma. And it's difficult when you put a bad note down, because then everything else is affected by it after you start to paint. You know, everything you put on after it mixes with what's already there, so. It's coming a bit better now. These high chroma shadows here. Darker though, I think. Let's be brave. Yeah. So I'm just kind of going between my high chroma and my low chroma sides, trying to put the patches in the right place. Now, compared to the photo, my values I think are generally a bit, possibly a little lighter. No, maybe not. It's hard to say, because you know, obviously you're seeing what you're seeing. I'm adjusting the camera on the painting a little bit, because the light is coming up, so try and get it closer to how it actually looks. I think maybe I want to bring the values down a little bit in places. Make the forms clearer. That seemed like a good change. So I think generally speaking the values are all right, but I'm still kind of fine-tuning them a little bit. Thank you, Catherine. Can you close the door for me, Big Love? When you open the door, it the light reflects on the painting, and it makes it hard to see.
Mum said I did have some crisps.
Oh right, I don't know where they are.
What?
I hid them from you,
Yeah, well,
so you wouldn't eat too many, and I can't remember where I put them.
Are they under there, where my teddy crisps are?
Don't you dare go under there. I'll get them for you in a second, all right? Do you know why I don't want you to go under there? Actually, you might be able to do it better than me because you're smaller than me. But the thing is, you have to be really, really careful not to knock this. This. Because those are the flowers that I'm painting, you see.
And where is...
Where is what, the crisps?
Where is...
Hmm?
Where is... Where are they?
I don't know. Seriously, I don't know. Here's the cat though. Hello, little fella.
What's that? How do you
Oh, I found him.
How can you not know where mine is? Alright. I'll just be having...
Don't forget to close the door on your way out, okay? Am I losing the shape a bit here? I think it probably is going to be alright just to go with it as it is. Oh, Diane says, do you have a go-to method for lowering chroma that you could share? Yes, absolutely. That's what I was talking about a minute ago. I'll try to explain it a bit more clearly. So, here is a page from the Munsell. Oh, the light's really blown out on that camera. Let me bring it down a bit. The light's coming up quite a bit as I'm painting. So this is a page from the Munsell Book of Colour. So most of the colours that I'm using to paint these roses come from this page. This is it's 2.5Y. So you could say, I mean, in terms of what you would call your normal colour wheel, this is slightly towards green, although not in Munsell terms. So if I've got a colour that's here, and I want this colour, so these are all the same value in the same hue, right? Or let's go more extreme. Say I've got this, and I want that, right? So I've got those two. I want to drop the chroma down to here. I'll mix that. I won't use a neutral because that will swing the hue. They're not strictly neutral. So I'll mix that, a lower chroma version of the same colour at the same hue, the same value, and then mix them together. And generally speaking, it goes down in a pretty straight line. Sometimes you need to adjust a little bit, but not often. So here, like for this, my deepest shadow areas with the high chroma, this chip is this chip here. You see? And that's why I've mixed that one and that one. So this here is that colour, and that one there is that colour. All right. So the very lightest parts are up here, the chip that's not there. It's gone slightly more towards green, so it's off another page. But by mixing this one with this one at the top, I get a low chroma light to shadow. And by mixing this one with the colour at the top, it will go like that. I get high chroma light to shadow, and I can move between the two with control of the value all the way up. But they're all pretty much the same hue. If you try to use a neutral, especially in yellows, if you try to use a neutral, a true Munsell neutral, to drop chroma, you get some pretty strange results. It doesn't work. I'm not entirely sure why. So I always mix a lower chroma version of the colour that I want. If I want that colour, then I won't try and drop the chroma of that colour. I'll mix it separately and match that separately. So there's different pigments in this than there is in this. Different tube pigments. Each one is mixed separately, and that's the beauty of the Munsell Book of Colour, because it lets you do that with complete control and confidence that you're staying within the right hue. And the reason that matters, if you want to paint realistically, that is that that's the way colour works in the real world. Having painted a lot of spheres and cubes of different local colours and carefully checking what the shadow colours are, that's what I found. I hope that made sense. I think the sun might be threatening to come out at some point soon. I mean, that's basically, that's one of the biggest reasons for me for using the Munsell book. I mean, that is the Munsell approach to colour, is being able to control everything separately, value, hue and chroma, and it just helps so much with painting flowers. Diane, you should ask, I think probably Kathy Speranza will be going into it on her video series as well, but I've no doubt she uses a similar approach to dropping chroma. It's basically, I would find it pretty hard to paint these flowers without doing that in the way that I want to paint them. If you don't, you know, it very much depends on how you the result you want and how you want to paint, you know. If you're not that bothered about, you know, if you're willing to sacrifice a certain amount of how real something looks in order, you know, for what you feel the painting needs, then I have no argument with that. I think that's fine. But this is how I approach it, you know. I want to, I see these paintings as kind of almost like an investigation into these flowers, you know. Spending time, it's partly why I really like to work from life still. Spending time with these flowers is a lot of the meaning of this work for me. I'm just seeing the chroma, high chroma area here that needs to come in to show that. It's quite a lot lighter than this. And then as we're going back here, there's a bit of chroma, but not as much. Lighter, I need lighter. So, and another thing that I try to focus on a lot these days with painting flowers is not to worry about the petals, to think about the main forms. So this is a ball with a dent in it. This is a large disc. It's a ball really, but it has a flattened bit here, which is why all of this is roughly the same value. So I'm thinking about the overall form the whole time, trying not to, as much as I can avoid it, trying not to get wrapped up in any details and petals like too soon, because, you know, if you can make the overall form of the thing work, then firstly you don't have to paint too many petals for it to look, you know, for it to work. And secondly, it's the way, simplifying the form is the way that you make them look like flowers. I think I truly believe that, you know, a lot of it is about simplifying the form. And getting those details right, those values and everything right. And if you do that, then all the little bits that you put in, detaily bits, they'll work really well. I need to resolve this area around here, so. I mean, I have to say, for me, I literally could not do these paintings. I don't think I couldn't. You know, the Munsell, the way colour is broken down in Munsell is what gives me my way in to be able to paint these. I just don't think I would be able to do it otherwise. Well, I guess I would be able to do it, but I just don't think the results would be the same. For me, you know, this is like a really important part of the process for me, is the way the colour is controlled. I mean, no doubt, I mean, that's how I think about it at the moment. No doubt it will change. I suppose gradually as time goes on, I become less I suppose I'm starting to gradually move a little bit away from bit by bit, trying to get a close representation of what's there. But I'm still very concerned with the colours being right. And I kind of think, for me, I have a lot more freedom with what I can do with the calligraphy of the brushstrokes if I can get the colours good. The problem is exposure is coming up on the camera, and when it does, it also brings up the saturation a bit. You drop it a little bit because it's not quite as saturated as it looks, I don't think. I am pushing it though. I am pushing, that's probably about how it is. I think I've pushed the saturation in the shadows, these areas, like a little bit more, just because I think it's nice. That's it really. Just trying to think about how I can start to suggest what's happening. See, all around this edge of the roses is quite low chroma. And the values are very close, you know, even though there's a lot of detail in there, values are very close. And these brushes really help with this. They make rose-shaped marks. Thank you, Magda. But Diane, I would really encourage you to have a closer look at Munsell, because you already are making really beautiful paintings. And even if you want to depart a little bit, you know, from what's in front of you, it doesn't stop you doing that. I think there's a kind of a misconception about using Munsell for painting, that it's somehow it's about just matching, and you know, people get a bit funny about it, but it really is just, it just helps you control the colour. That's what it's really about. And if you want to like have a chat over email or something about it, I can maybe explain a little bit more perhaps than these disjointed descriptions that I give when I'm actually painting, then drop me a line, you know. So, like for this painting, I'm not, how can I describe it? I mean, I'm very keen on finding out exactly what the colours are that I'm seeing in the rose. But then when I come to paint it, I'm allowing myself a little freedom with those colours, you know. So I'm allowing myself to push the chroma a little bit in the shadows, you know, that kind of thing. And I can do it reliably, you know. And it also gives me a way into understanding what's actually happening to the colour in the rose itself, and be able to do a better job of making those forms work. Yes, the subtlety. Yeah, I don't know if it's wise, Ginny. I think a lot of it is, it's kind of trial and error a lot of the time, you know, and just trying to find something that will work and make a more beautiful painting, or at least to try. And I guess a lot of it is, I want to have something a bit more than just the thing. You know, I want to have something of the way it makes me feel, my reaction to it, and, you know, not just the rose. That makes sense. I want the form, I want it to work, I want it to look like this rose, but I also want to try to give it something. And that, to me, that's the area of painting where I'm kind of, I would say, I'm put a lot of my thought at the moment, and trying to figure out changing the colours. Is that going to do it, or, you know, is it the calligraphy of the brush strokes, and or trying to pursue more feeling. It's all about, that's what it's about for me. And I find painting flowers and anything from nature now is becoming increasingly more meaningful to me as I learn more about what's happening. I mean, we've had temperatures that we almost never have just lately here, and it's deeply worrying, you know. We're looking at unprecedented change. I mean, no one knows for sure what's going to happen, but if you'd spend some time seeing what the scientists are saying, then it's hard to not to feel almost a kind of a despair for what we're going to lose. And painting flowers for me becomes more meaningful, and as an outlet to process those feelings of despair. You know, to come into such close contact with nature. In itself, it's a meaningful thing to do. It's a meaningful act. It may seem kind of useless to be painting flowers when there's so much trouble in the world, but it's like we're going to lose a lot of what we have now. And being close to nature while it's still here, while we're still here, it's become a large part of why I paint now, I think, really. And it seems to me that the fragility of flowers is just a really good metaphor for the time that we're in. The way that, you know, I see them die as I'm painting them. And it may seem obsessively sad, you know, but it's the reality, you know, our world is dying. Like the roses do, before our eyes. So this becomes a kind of just a way to process that sadness and to connect with it while it's still here. So easy to put a wrong note in, that's just way too dark. Ah, hit it again. Try and paint it out. Yeah, actually, safety net, that's probably quite a good way to think about it. I don't think it stops you being intuitive. I would say it depends. I mean, for me, I kind of think, I mean, you know, your paintings are really beautiful and I can see that there's a lot of feeling and, you know, intuition in the way you approach them. I think so. But for me, I would say, I think it doesn't necessarily mean, because, I mean, you know, you've got the numbers and everything. The numbers, for the colours, they really put me off at first. I thought, well, this is not very artistic, is it? But gradually, as I got used to them and understood them more, they made more sense. And I would say it's, you see, I think of intuition as being knowledge which has been practiced to the extent that it's become automatic and unconscious almost. Ooh, too dark. To the point of almost of unconsciousness. Why is that going down so dark? And that still happens, absolutely, you know, still happens. You see, the light is changing in this room now. Maybe it's because it's like the value thing, and maybe I'm just looking so closely at these beautiful high chroma shadows that I'm overstating the chroma, but as long as it makes a nice painting, don't really mind. Just trying to bring a bit of, I think these lower values are actually helping. I just don't want to bring too much of it in. I think probably what I'm most happy about at the moment is that it looks like I'm going to get away with the background, which is great, because I didn't want to have to do any more on it. Because I like it how it is, and if I end up messing with it, I'll lose the texture. Let me bring the exposure down a little bit, because the light is starting to blow out the cameras. See, I'm almost tempted to bring these values down a little bit more, but I'm really in two minds about it. I should try it and see. I should try it. You know, what's the worst that can happen? I have to bin the painting, right? It's the process that matters. Well, and also, you know, having something to sell at the end of the day. If you do it for a living, that helps as well. But, you know, if that's all it was about, then could just be working in an office. So I'm just trying some darker values in this area of the rose, just to see what happens. And I think probably it's gonna, just around all of this area, I think it's gonna work all right. What do you think? Good change or not good change? What do you think? You see the change, just bringing down the values and give the rose a bit more form. I'll put them in and then kind of, you know, blend them in a little bit once they're in and sort out some of the shapes. There's a beautiful low chroma area all around here. No, too dark. There's almost no detail. And then getting to the tricky stage where if I look too closely, just at one little bit, then I'm in danger of overpainting, over modeling, like basically value mistakes, making value mistakes. Please be of the right value. Too light. Too dark. The thing is, it's so subtle in there. It's so hard to. How do you paint flowers? They're so hard. But worth it. See, even with all of this, like, carefully mixed colours and trying to be ultra careful with the values, I'm still making mistakes. And having to correct. And really what I want to do is just put down the note right first time. And there is actually a little hint just on the edge of this little bit here that is actually full light, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Right. Yeah, we really do need beautiful roses. Oh, what a brilliant... I didn't know that. When Winston Churchill was asked to cut arts funding in favour of the war effort, he simply replied, "Then what are we fighting for?" I guess it helped that he was a painter too. Too dark. Ah, how light is that? Way lighter than I thought. Still too dark. That's it. I think. I'm trying to bring in these subtleties, like, you know, in the shadows without screwing it up, frankly. It only takes a few value mistakes in there, and then it loses the subtlety, and then no longer looks like flower. Just these really beautiful, these little bits that poke out into the light. It's all one petal. And then this bit is full light. Not sure how much of the real detail I want to bring in, really. Not all of it, for sure. I generally don't need all of it. Find. And we'll end up compounding mistakes and getting less of a result if I try and paint the whole thing in every detail. Thank you, Janet. Otis, I hope I said your name right. Thank you, Gletta. I think we're getting there with this one. It's coming now. I need a little break now. And sit back and look at it for a little bit, have a cup of coffee and think about what I need to work on next. I'm kind of feeling, I get this, Diane, you were saying about a tightrope earlier. I feel that I'm at that tightrope point where I kind of need to just to stand back and have a bit of a look and see what I think I need to work on most next, because I'm not sure how much detail I still need to put in, maybe not very much. Fairly happy with the way things are looking so far. I think I'm unhappy with the way the stem is so close to this leaf, so I'm going to add another stem here and I'm going to make this leaf bigger, I think. So that bit makes more sense. But overall, I think I'm probably getting there. It's just down to the subtlety of the chroma and the values. You know, I really am convinced more and more as I paint flowers, if you can get that, then you can really make you can make them sing, but it's not easy. Okay, I'm going to sign off now. Thanks very much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I'm actually probably going to, if the sun doesn't come into the studio, I'm probably going to try and finish this one today, because I'm quite happy with the way it's going so far. Maybe might do a little bit more on it tomorrow, and then start a new one the weekend. Take it from there. So I'll see you all again next week on Tuesday. I hope you have a really lovely weekend. Get out into nature if you can while it's still there. And as someone whose name I forget, commentator on climate change, said recently, nature will tell you, just be alone in nature and it will tell you what you need to do. Thanks very much, everyone.